Yeah.
And here we are. So, to you,
You
you
too.
know, Sully, what a film.
Thank you.
You know, so, tell us before we get into Sully, tell us how you actually started off in editing, because this is your first. You've gone from associate editor to lead.
Uh-huh. Yeah, this is the first feature that I've cut on my own. I've been with Clint's company in El Paso for about 12 years now. So I started as a visual effects editor and as an assistant editor, worked my way up to being the first for a number of years, and then the opportunity came up on this one to be the editor, and that's how I got there.
So how did it all begin for you, though? Your father has worked with Clint Eastwood for a long time. You're continuing the family tradition.
Yes.
What made you want to get into editing of every, other creative field that you could get into?
Well, I wanted to be a soccer player, but that didn't work out. I got injured in college. So I've always had a love for film. And so I started working with my dad, who was a sound editor. I knew it was the same union as being a film editor. I knew it was a good start and a great place to learn and just begin my career. So I started working with my dad, and really early on just understood that sound wasn't for me. I couldn't think the way those guys think, and they were all so passionate, and it just wasn't my thing. But I loved working with them and learning from them and just being a part of everything. So every chance I got, I would try to get onto a film crew. And even though I had worked a number of years and I was in the union now, this opportunity came up on Catwoman. A friend of mine, Kate Baird, she was out to dinner with my dad, and my dad had mentioned that, I wanted to get into film, and she was working on Catwoman and said, "Oh, we're looking for a PA. Would he mind being a PA?" And so that message got passed to me, and I was like, absolutely, I'll do whatever to be on the film side. So Catwoman was my first film on the film side of things.
Wow. And going into Sully, that's quite a beast to take on. What research did you have to do before you even started?
Well, I just wanted to be as familiar with Sully as I could. So I read his book. I read the script, a number of times. I watched all the videos, all of the interviews. I watched the NTSB hearing just to get a sense of the man himself. And then once we started shooting, it was really up to the footage and whatever Clint shot, and whatever I had to use to tell the story.
Yeah. And what did Clint actually tell you coming into this, and, his vision?
Well, it's funny, since it's my first one with Clint, he just treated me like his other editors, and he didn't really have that conversation. Everyone he hires, has worked with him for a long time and knows their part, and he just expects you to go into it and do your thing. So we didn't really have much of a discussion beforehand. He just trusted that I would step up and into that role and do the job like his other editors had always done.
Yeah. And that opening scene is quite a ride, into the plane crashing, and then you wake up with Sully, having a flashback. Talk about how you went about and approached editing that scene.
Well, the script had such an energy, and it was like that from the beginning. I remember reading the script for the first time and thinking, wait, that didn't happen. And I just went back to the beginning thinking that I must have read it wrong and started reading again. And then when he wakes up, I was like, oh, that's a really cool way to bring you into the story. So I just wanted to have that same energy that I felt the first time I read the script, and, just give you little pieces along the way that made you feel like, wait, this isn't what happened. I know this isn't what happened. What's going on? And get you into him waking up right away.
Yeah. And, the film goes back and forth with time. What was that like, working on a film that doesn't have flashback and then skips back to present?
It was really nice. I loved finding those little moments that you can leave Sully's face and go back, to moments in his life, or to the event. And it was fun. It was fun to work with those moments and redefine them. Like, I think the thing we did the most throughout cutting was try to really make each moment as specific as it could be. Since you're seeing the event essentially 3 different times, you want it to feel like its own, you know, specific moment each time you go back to it. So I had a blast, and the script was broken up beautifully like that right from the beginning. So, you know, it was a good start.
Yeah. And was there a lot of green screen involved for you?
Oh yeah, there was tons of, yeah. So we shot plates out on the Hudson River. They put a barge in the middle of the river, and our whole camera crew was out there getting that environment and the water rushing towards them, and they had passengers in the foreground. But then everything with the plane and the passengers coming out on the wing, that was all shot here at Universal in Falls Lake. So that was wrapped with a blue screen. And so you had to use the elements of the ferries coming in on the Hudson, you know, intercut with what we shot at Falls Lake. So there was a lot of blue screen.
Yeah. And how much footage did you have to work with? Did you have a lot?
Yeah. There was quite a bit of footage on the Hudson, because we had photographers up in helicopters, you know, shooting aerials of where the ferries would be, on the barge with the ferries coming in, low angle, you know, below the passengers. And then when we got to Falls Lake, we had multiple cameras running outside the plane, and inside we had our Steadicam operator, Steve Campanelli, in with the passengers, and we took the passengers from the moment they touched down in the water landing until everyone's out on the wing, and we did that all in one take. So he's in there each time picking up whatever he can, and Clint just really wanted it to feel like you were in the plane with these people and you know, panicked and trying to get out, and I think he gave you the sense that you were really with them. So there.
And it was.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say it was 93 minutes. It's all packed in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what Clint kept saying throughout cutting. He's like, whatever's not story, I don't want it in there. I want it to move, especially in the rescue. He's like, I just want it to move. Keep it moving. It happened so fast on the day. I want it to feel frantic and like you were really out there. So.
Was there any scene that was particularly difficult for you to edit, or what was the challenge?
I think the biggest challenge was the rescue, just because of the footage all being in a Steadicam take, and then the different cameras outside and merging what we shot at Falls Lake out with New York. But my assistants, Christine Kim and Kevin Murray, like really made that easy for me. They spent weeks going through all of that footage and breaking it up as many ways as they can, inside the plane, outside the plane, specific to passengers, and at different moments, like in the rafts, on the wings. Like, so they set it up really well for me. And then it was just a matter of going through there and finding the moments that made you feel like you were part of it. And
did you have any scenes that changed particularly in the editing room?
The scenes that changed the most, I think, were just the flashbacks to the event, because we just wanted throughout editing to really define those moments as their own specific moments. So I think those were they changed the most throughout cutting.
Wow. Okay. And, you know, what's the whole experience been like for you working on this film, seeing the reaction?
It's been amazing. I mean, it's funny. This is the first one that I've cut, so all of a sudden you're working, and then the film's done, and then it's out in the world, and you see how people are reacting to it and what it's doing. It was a really cool experience.
Wow. And you know, in terms of, you know, editing, your process, talk about that. So, you know, just to go back, Clint says, okay, great, you know, you're hired. What, this is the film. What's your process in the room?
I always felt, since, you know, I've been here about 12 years now, and I've watched Clint's dailies on every film, I really always felt like like when you're running dailies and it's up on the big screen for the first time, like that's where the scene begins to be cut, and you feel the magic of those individual moments. And like I would always make notes and write down what jumped out at me, what hit me, and I would encourage my assistants and Jeff Pantelio and Leo, who ran our dailies, to say, you know, speak up during dailies and let me know if something, you know, they thought was powerful or whatever, because I want to see how people react to it. And then I was lucky enough to be friends with Stuart Baird, so I went out. He's an editor. I went out with him before the movie started and asked him his advice on, you know, just cutting for the first time. And he just said, it's your job to find the most powerful moments and make sure they're in the movie, and everything else you'll figure out. So that's kind of how I approached it.
And, you know, we know what scene challenged you the most to edit. What scene did you particularly enjoy editing?
I loved just the quiet moments between Sully and Skiles in the beginning of the movie, when they're sitting in the hotel room just trying to come to terms with what happened, or when they were walking down Fifth Avenue talking to each other, like, you know, is this real? What are we doing? Where do we go from here? Type of thing. Like, what's this going to mean for our careers? Just the quiet moments between them at the beginning were always the most powerful to me.
Yeah. And so what's next for you now that you've tackled Clint Eastwood and Sully?
I mean, I would love to cut another one with Clint. He's amazing to work for. He's an icon. Like, in the cutting room, even though I was working with him, most of the time I was just like looking over my shoulder, watching him, seeing what he would react to or what his thought process was. And I mean, it was just amazing to learn from somebody like that, and just to be a part of it. So I'd love to do another one with him if I can.
How long did it take you to edit?
Well, as we're shooting, I tried to stay up to camera. We stayed up to camera for most part. And then every time Clint finishes filming, he likes to step away from the project for a little bit, go on a trip, or just go home for a little bit, take a breather, and like, so he could come into the editing room with fresh eyes, you know. So he went away for a couple weeks. I put the first cut together, and then he came in. The first cut was 92 minutes. We watched it. And then I think we spent about 10 weeks together working on it, and just, you know, focusing on the moments that he wanted to work with, and cutting it.
Wow, that's exciting. I mean, seriously, that film, when I watched it, it sucked me right in, and it was like being on a plane. You know, the whole time I felt like I was in that ride right there with him during his investigation. It's a completely immersive.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's what so many people have told me, because it's fun to see how people react to that, because you see the footage as a story, and you want to tell that story. So sometimes you get that same feeling, or you lose it along the way. And that's what people often say, like, I felt like I was on that plane, like when they were walking down the aisle for the first time and feeling how crowded it would have been trying to get off of it. So it's fun to hear people say that.
And he's a wonderful hero. It's a wonderful tribute to a great hero. So
yeah. I know, here you have this guy who just showed up to work one day, and then in a matter of seconds, he's in charge of 154 lives on that plane. And if at any second he doubted himself or did what he was told to do and not just listen to his instincts, who knows how that would have ended up. So he's a special guy.
Telling Todd, there was one scene that I really actually, you know, made me sit up and pay attention at the beginning, when everybody's on the plane, they're not paying attention to the, you know, the safety video. I said, why did you put that? And he said, people don't pay attention. They're always
fiddling. One does. I know. I've noticed that after this movie, every time I get on a plane, I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? Yeah. And it's funny. I love those shots that came along in that section. People were just not paying attention. There's one shot of a girl who was asleep, and I don't know if she fell asleep on set that day and they just happened to pick that up, or if they asked her to do it. So I always love that little shot in there.
It's brilliant. Blue, it's been a pleasure speaking to you,
Thank you,
talking
Jazz.
to you
You
about
too.
Sully, and we got the technology working, so
Yes.
yay, yay. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much.
Happy holidays as well.
Happy holidays.
Great.
See ya.
Take care.
Okay, you too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.